Sí, el programa me parece fantástico. Tengo 4 hijos y tengo niños chiquitos y niños grandes. Entonces a veces es muy difícil saber cómo preparar la comida para los 2 niños. Entonces me está gustando este programa porque la semana pasada tuve la oportunidad de preparar la pizza con ellos y fue algo súper divertido y ellos están bien interesados como que, ay, esta semana, ¿qué vas a aprender? ¿Qué cosa nueva vas a aprender? Y queremos que lo volverlos a hacer. Es un momento muy especial para compartir con mis hijos en familia de lo que estamos aprendiendo aquí en la clase. Aprender a comer más saludable, a ocupar otros ingredientes que a lo mejor nunca he ocupado, a enseñarles a mis hijos a cómo preparar la comida más rápido, porque a veces tengo que preparar comida y me tardo mucho tiempo, entonces aquí aprendí a que lo podemos hacer todos juntos y prepararlo rápido y comer saludable, porque a veces...
Yo les doy las gracias porque ellos se preocupan por los niños y porque eso les va a beneficiar en su futuro. Les doy las gracias por estar atentos de lo que la gente como nosotros necesitamos y que a veces decidimos no voy porque no hablo o no entiendo tanto inglés, pero afortunadamente aquí nos proveen de esas cosas, nos ponen intérprete y con eso nos da muchísimo gusto y muchas gracias por el apoyo.
I participated in the Helping Families Thrive class. It was, I believe, a 6 to 8 week course over Zoom. And I feel after the class I have so many tools that I still use, and I took this class last year. It was a lot about positive parenting and how to interact with your child in the best way to get the best outcome. It was so relieving to be with other, even though it was on Zoom, but being with other parents, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm experiencing that too. It was it made me feel like I'm not alone in a lot of these parenting struggles, where I'm like, maybe it's just my kid. Nope, it's not. It's all these other kids. So I feel like it was extremely beneficial to hear other parents' experiences. Because parenting, I feel like we need tools, but there's so many tools out there, and we don't know which ones to use. But if a school district says these are the ones that we find are beneficial and have great outcome, then I think people should definitely take advantage of those. Well, it starts at home, how they interact with their siblings, with their parents, and that rolls right into school with their peers and how they react to their teacher when their teacher asks them to do something and maybe they don't understand. It becomes a conversation versus a fight maybe with the teacher. But I think it's showing extreme support for family members, and it's not saying you have to do this class, it's optional. But I'm so thankful for the school district offering this, because that's impacted my oldest son Ryder, but it's going to impact all my other kids and how I interact with them.
Life's been a little bit chaotic recently for myself and the kiddos. I have 2 11-year-old girls at the moment that are just hitting those teenage years, and I look for opportunities to learn, and I've raised 2 other daughters prior to this. I have an 18-year-old and a 27-year-old, and they turned out great, but the world's changing, and I can use all the help I can get. When I saw this class pop up, I thought, what a great opportunity, and I feel like I learned a lot in the class. I enjoyed it and used some of what I learned already and will continue to do so. There was a format to the family meetings that was proposed during the class. We had already been doing some family meetings, but I hadn't really thought of doing them the way that it was being proposed. And, planning some fun things with the family, for instance, and giving the kids more of a voice. Even when I have to make the tough call, giving them a chance to know that their opinions are being heard, and we're going to consider that as part of those decisions, I feel like makes a big difference to them, and they feel like participating more. As far as what this can do for them, this gives them more of that opportunity to see that their voice is heard and their opinion really matters. And I think this will help them not only at home, but also with their educational opportunities. Because, I mean, frankly, teachers don't get a lot of feedback from students, a lot of times, and they're not going to have that problem with my kids.
Yeah, they help us a lot with just making sure we're safe. You know what I'm saying? Just she checks on us all the time. They come, and like Nathan, he's my son. He's 13 now, and when we first got here, their schools down there are bad. Like they have to go through metal detectors and things like that. Like it's bad down there, and we're from almost right underneath New Orleans. Okay. And so with the hurricane, it destroyed everything we own. And I had a family member up here that was going to help us, and he decided when we got here he just wasn't, and so we ended up at a Motel 6. And I had to call 911, and they brought me to Hands Up Project, which she ended up being a part of, and she was like, we got to get the kids in school, because they hadn't been in school in almost a year, because down there schools were destroyed. Up here I was terrified, because in Louisiana, if you don't have a place for your kids to live and you don't have a school for them, they're not in school, they're gone. They're taking them. That's just the way it works. Like if you cannot afford for your kids, there's nothing down there to make sure my kids were safe. And so I was so terrified to call a school and put them in a school, because I was like, they're going to know I'm homeless, and it was scary. And so we got with them, and she's like, no, whatever school they want to go to, we'll get them there. And that's how they ended up at North and at Everett. And she was like, they got us with the program with Madrona, so that way we're going to be living there. So they got to go to the school that's going to be by where they're living, and it's been better. They're doing so much better. They really were in depression for 15 and 13. They were terrified because they didn't know what was going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't either. And I'm a grown-up, and I was scared. And so now that they have a safe school to go to, they know that these people are not going to go, oh, you don't have this, it's different. It really is. My daughter wants to go to school. My son wants to go to school. You know what I'm saying? And he knows if he goes and says, I don't have a jacket, or I don't have this, they have it, and they're going to be there. And he can say, I'm having a rough day, and they're like, okay, let's figure out what we can do with it, and not just, oh, well, go back to class. It is what it is. I mean, they're safe. They feel safe. And it's been a long time since they felt that. The main thing is their education, and that's the most important to me. And they were not having that before. No one cared. There was overworked schools and not enough, teachers and things to just go, okay, this person is having a problem. They didn't have that down there. So when we got up here, and they were like, no, it's okay. You're not in trouble for just not being able to afford to live. You know what I'm saying? This is not your fault. Let's work with you with it. And she's always done that. And I can tell her, look, this is what we're having trouble with. And she's right there. We get to go home. You know what I'm saying? It became real when we put that paper on the door that says reserved for. I was like, okay, we get to go home. When we walked in, I cried. I did. Because it was like we lived in a Motel 6 in one room with 2 teenagers. And it's hard. It really is. And it's the first time I've ever experienced this the way it is. When we got a hold of them, it was being able to get my kids in a safe place, getting them, where we needed to go, what we needed to do to have a normal, healthy, sustainable life.